Yo, YouTube, what's going on? It's your boy SalvationsElite. We are back with another video, guys. And today, man, as you guys can see, you don't see me because I'm a little bit under the weather. I'm a little sick. And so I thought it'd be a little bit easier just to not do any face cam today. So you don't have to get put through and suffer through seeing my face for a whole video. We're talking about team setups today on Arklov. And as you probably know, there's a lot to go through. This map can be really, really difficult. There's a lot that's going on that makes the map really interesting for search and destroy, and personally is my favorite map for search in the game. It's the only map that doesn't play completely hectic in my mind with fives, because it's bigger, it spreads people out, and you have to make some pretty tactical decisions to make the map feel right and play well. You really have to make some tactical decisions. You have to communicate really well on this map and rotate based off where the other team's going to be. And I think it's just one of the most interesting maps to play in the game, which is why I really, really enjoy it. I mean, without further ado, let's just get right into the first setup. So how this is going to work is basically we're going to go through some of the defensive setups first. Then we're going to talk about some of the offensive setups. As you guys can see here, this is the template we're going off of. The red dots basically just represent where any enemy could potentially be. Obviously, you know, the most common spots where enemies would be. The white lines represent lines of sight that the person in that spot should be watching or paying attention to. And besides that, then there's like the nades and the smokes and the flashes, of course. So now let's go through the first setup. Here is our first one. I wanted to start off with a few pretty balanced setups. In the first setup here, you got two guys at A side, pushed up a little bit more aggressively than, you know, normal. So obviously, what's so important about this setup is the guys at A need to make sure they play their lives and not get too aggressive. If one of them gets picked off early, so obviously what's very important right off the rip on Arklov is to get that call out whether or not you think they're A or B. Once you get that call out, then you can rotate accordingly and set up on that bomb site. So the next setup is just a variation of the last setup. I mean, this one's just more conservative. I would say is a little bit simpler of a base play. It's more conservative. It allows for you to get the call outs and play your life. So basically the guys at A, one is sitting back blue barrels and then one is sitting top grandmas, while the guys at B are being a little bit more aggressive. So one's pushing out onto cliff on the right side looking over field, and then there's one pushing into L watching out through mid while you still have the same guy sitting inside of top B. So I found this as a really effective setup to play slow and keep a team at bay. Oh, I have the pre-nade markers there back on hay bales at A because it's just a simple place to pre-nade. Ideally, you want to throw double nades there because you're usually going to get hit markers at this point with how the meta is for perks. In any other situation where you have two guys going A, it's definitely a great idea to throw those double pre-nades towards hay bales. And maybe you can switch up the variation and the timings of those nades to keep the teams off balance. It's definitely an important nade to throw early on. It helps you get callouts as well. So the next setup is a pretty conservative A push with a heavy B setup. The guy at A here is just, his whole job is to get a call out of whether or not the majority of these players are at A and get a call out for how many guys are going A. Obviously, if the guy who's sitting in grandma's gets picked early on, say from a sniper on red or from someone in ravine, then you're going to be in a lot of trouble pretty quickly. And so you have to really have a lot of trust in this guy back in grandma's that he's not going to get sniped or picked off pretty quickly, and that he can get the call out in. And then as that call out gets in, you guys methodically push towards A together. Some of the players who are in back B wrap back to A, and then maybe one or two of them push through mid or into broken or into their spawn to try to put some pressure on them from the backside. So there's not too much to this one. It's pretty basic, but again, it's just really important for the guy in grandma's to play his life. The next one is a heavy A setup this time. And so the biggest thing off the rip to worry about here is the timing on the flank. So if you're really going all in at A here, you have to be weary of the mid push and the outer B push towards your flank. And so that's why I have the arrows going both ways for the guy sitting on blue barrels. And so basically, again, what's so important at A is to understand how to use the smokes, the nades, and the stuns. What we do is we throw a smoke off the rip towards their back broken. We double nade it. That might buy you enough time to even push up into broken if possible and avoid them pushing up into broken. Another variation of this is that you send somebody into mid, like into L, and you try to have him push up into broken yourself through mid. That's definitely a play. Again, if we're just trying to set up heavy on A here, I guess technically the simpler option would be this. So you have one guy sitting up on hill, one guy on bomb, one guy back grandma's, and one back on shack watching the outer B flank. And again, the biggest issue with these A setups is if the other team is really good at pre-nading, and make sure anybody who's pushing up at A here has EOD on, because otherwise you are 100% dead. So patience is also really important with this type of setup. Defensively, you just have to be patient. If you push out here, peek a little bit too aggressively, you're going to get picked, you're going to get naded, something's going to happen. And so the patience is just incredibly important. If they're not there at A right off the rip, then you need to quickly rotate back towards B, whether that's the player who's in grandma's, definitely the player who's on blue barrels, and definitely the player who's in shack. need to push out back towards B if there's nobody at A right off the rip. So these last two setups are more aggressive pushes for you and your squad. I mean, they're just nice ways to switch up the pace. So this first one is actually like a little bit of a B mid flank. This definitely is a riskier play. Obviously, the person who's pushing on that B flank has to be very wary of the people back by church or in field or coming around the corner there, because they could easily get caught in that situation. But if they get there, they have a good angle and a good way to pick people off going through mid, and it puts you in a really, really interesting position defensively and with a lot of map control. And of course, if there's nobody out B field, there's a likely chance that they're going to be at A, which allows you to get that call out and gives more flexibility for the rest of your teammates and more information for the rest of your teammates. So it's not something I would do very regularly, but maybe like once per game, it's something that I could definitely throw out there. And then we've got an aggressive A push. And so again, this is one where I have a very balanced setup, but with an aggressive A push. And this is something that we try once in a while to keep people off balance. And so you do have somebody pushing up into L, which allows for the person who's pushing up into broken to have a little bit more leeway. And so this is something that I do a lot of times with a dead silence push, is I'll throw a smoke on their side, kind of like right on the edge of broken for them. So then we're trying to nade it, and then I'm either pushing up into their hay bales to try to get 1 or 2 kills there, or I'm just going to sit in broken and play time inside of broken as my teammates are getting mid control and outer B. So the guy who's sitting outer B, obviously if there's nobody there right away, you're pushing up the map and you're either hitting the full flank or you're hitting into mid, depending on the callouts and where the other team actually is. Oftentimes, what can be pretty effective is a full A flank. If somebody's already pushed out into field on defense, then you hit a full A flank around the backside of A. Can be very effective. And then you have somebody in mid to help push inside of broken. So there are a lot of variations of this setup, which is something I really like about it. And it gives you a lot of flexibility, as long as the person who's pushing up the map at A is smart about it. And very rarely will that person get picked until they actually push out of broken, unless the team that you're playing is really smart and they have stuns on and they stun that smoke push, because that's something that can definitely counter the smoke. So there's just some different variations of how to defend on this map. So offense can definitely get a little tricky on this map, because something that happens is that it is so important to coordinate your tacticals on this map, then use the timing through the smokes, the nades, and the stuns to push up the map, take map control, and then get the bomb down. One thing that's really important about this map, and that a lot of teams base their setups off of, is the bomb plants. So of course, hitting A, those tacticals are just so important. So like, I don't know if you'd ever went around in 5s on Arklov if you didn't use any tactical equipment going A. I mean, unless you just get incredibly lucky with the type of setups that these teams are doing, or you just got a nasty sniper and pick people off. But otherwise, you're gonna have to use tacticals, smokes, nades, and stuns to get there. So normally we'll double nade either back ravine, on hill, or on bomb, like I was talking about. So I could in theory put, that little nade symbol on any of those. I just chose back ravine on this one, so you guys can coordinate where you think they'll be in this round. Try to hit that nade together. It's definitely important to do. I mean, in this setup, there's 3 of you that are there, so 2 of you throw the nade, 1 of you throws a smoke, and you get pushing up pretty quick. So the smoke here is right outside of their side of broken, so you're pushing up into broken, getting broken control, while one's on the outside of broken, which has that angle towards hill and towards bomb. Then you got the guy top red to help have that angle as well. And so you're really playing for a quick pick here. So if you don't get a pick, then it's incredibly important for you to throw another smoke to get out there and push aggressively. And so again, it can be pretty hectic once you throw that smoke. It can create chaos. What you have to worry about when pushing up here through the smoke is players sitting on the right side of bomb near the fences. That's usually where people will lay and just kind of wait there through a smoke to see if they can get a pick. So you definitely have to be aware of that when the smoke comes out. So that's why I have this little graphic here. It's just a variation. You can use another stun as well. Now that there's 4 of you, you could have the smoke pop out, then somebody throws a stun near bomb, and then you push out to try to get those kills. That could definitely work as well. But it just depends about how you want to use those tacticals. I would highly recommend something like this. Would probably be the best way to go about it. So here's another variation of a similar push. Basically, instead of somebody in red, you have them go ravine, and you try to get ravine pressure with the guy who's in hay bales. So you throw that smoke, you throw the nades, then maybe you throw a stun, and then you push. The biggest worry here is that somebody gets good timing on you back ravine and gets a pick pretty early on. But the guys who are pushing into broken together need to clear that out and clear out the right side of the bomb, while the 2 other ones are pushing up ravine, trying to get hill control and ravine control as you get bomb down. So then we got the B pushes. And so something that I actually really enjoy doing on this map, I guess this would go either way, but preferably when you're going B, is to throw a smoke on the other side of the map. So throw a smoke towards A, so you have somebody run like back red, and then throw a smoke up into broken. because it does buy the rest of your team time, and it prevents whoever is set up at A from rotating as quickly because they don't know if there's actually anybody there. I really do like throwing those illusion smokes because it freezes the other team for a solid 10 seconds and gives your team time to get the bomb down inside of B and get B control before the other team fully rotates. But you don't have to do that on every single push. Obviously, it's good to throw that in there to throw them off a little bit and mix things up. So this is the first push to B. It's like an aggressive mid push, and you're quickly pushing up into B building through mid. And so we're going to have variations of this where some are going through field, some are going through mid, some are going through blue and L and whatnot. But this one is a double smoke where you're smoking their boxes and their back L, and then you're smoking top B building as you push in to try to get bomb down. And the other thing that's very important with this setup is that you leave the front doors open as you get bomb down, because once that bomb is down, it's incredibly difficult to break because of the top blue control. The other thing that's important to think about here is, when you open those doors, you have to worry about somebody sitting on the inside stairs of B building who would be watching those front doors, because when you throw that smoke top B, obviously it's pretty telling that you're probably heading B. And so this person might back up and go onto the stairs to watch that front push. So that's something you have to pay attention to right away. Of course, there could be somebody behind the bar inside grandma's as well. Those are things you all have to worry about and get better at identifying. So here's another B push. This one is through mid and through field. There's no smoke used on outer field this time, but there is a smoke still used on back boxes. It helps give a good variation. Again, the biggest thing with the success of this push is the field pressure. And when you're pushing up there, you're on that statue in the middle of field. You're pushing on the outer balcony of field, and you're trying to push towards window and get inside of window and get back spawn control. And so you have to worry about the people who are on the back barrels, on the cliff, and in the corner of the fences by B window. If you get a pick out or B, you're in really, really, really good shape to win this round. So here's the last setup. This is more of an aggressive field push. And so you can see you can actually use a smoke here to get really, really good positioning on the trench in field, and then even push up onto cliff through the boxes. And so you use that smoke to create the positioning for yourself. You do have to wait for a second for the smoke to get high enough to cover the barrel heady. But once you do, you can quickly push up and get that control. And you should be in a good spot if you're sitting on those boxes to get a pick on the guy who's sitting on barrel heady, or even really surprise the guy who's sitting on cliffs if you're in that position. Once you get those picks or you have that control, you can easily get bombed down. There's a lot on the plate here for the guy sitting in top blue. Once you get that control, you have to worry about the flank and get that secured right away. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is a really, really long video, but I mean, we went through a lot of different setups. I spent a lot of time setting these all up, and I hope you guys enjoyed them. If you guys did, like, comment, favorite, subscribe. We will see you in the next video. If you guys really enjoy this, make sure you show the support, because the last one kind of got off to a really slow start. So all the watch time, the likes, the interactions, the comments help promote the video and mean a lot to me and help the channel succeed. So I really do appreciate that. But as always, guys, I'm your boy SalvationsElite, and we'll see you next time. I'm out.